Good evening. This is Dr. Aparna. I am your emotional healing synergist. I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist, a passionate infopreneur, medical writer, and a budding YouTuber. In my pursuit to address, promote, and propagate Ayurveda and psychotherapy globally, I come up with talk throughs or discussions every week on Ayurveda, either Ayurveda or mental health or psychotherapy or related aspects. And I do book reviews on non fictional mental health and self help books. So if you are following me and my live sessions, you will know that I'm doing a detailed book synopsis of what I comprehend of the book Thinking Fast and Slow. This is the fifth day, of doing the book review or book summary. I'm doing it in detail because it is very this people who are psychology enthusiasts may understand how important is analyzing and decision making, and how important is cognition, and how important is understanding cognitive biases, intuition, and system 1 and system 2, as you can see in my background. So, without wasting time, let's get started. If we are in the continuation session, so you will have to refer to the first four sessions for you to get a good hold of what we are talking about. So, thinking fast and slow. Today, we are talking about taming intuitive predictions. So, heuristic 18, which is intuitive predictions. In the book, this book, by the way, if you are new, Thinking Fast and Slow is a book written by Daniel Kahneman. He's a Nobel Prize awardee. You can this is, as I said, this is the fifth session on the book. So what are intuitive predictions? According to the author, you know conclusions we draw with strong intuition, that is system 1. That means I feel, my gut feeling says. See, feed overconfidence. These conclusions we draw are with strong intuition, that is, overconfidence. Just because a thing feels right, intuitive, does not make it right. We need system 2 to slow down and examine our intuition, estimate baselines, and we have to use system 2 here. System 1 is, in this case, in the case of intuitions, is conclusions we draw with strong intuition. That is fed overconfidence. That means just because a thing feels right, that means intuitive, does not make it right. We need system 2 to slow down and examine our intuition, estimate baselines, consider regression to the mean, evaluate the quality of evidence, and so forth. So, we have to consider system 2 here. We need to slow down. We have to examine that institution. We have to estimate the baselines, and if it is a mathematical or a logical calculation, it should be, we have to, I had explained the concept called regression to the mean. So we have to consider regression to the mean, evaluate the quality of evidence, what all evidences we have. See, if my gut feeling says, or if my intuition says that somebody is a murderer, just because it feels right to me, that doesn't make that person a murderer. Similarly, we have to examine our intuition, evaluate the evidence, the quality of evidence. So, and all those things. So, extreme predictions and a willingness to predict rare events from weak evidence are both manifestations of system 1. It is natural, for the for the associative machinery to match the extremeness of the predictions to the perceived extremeness on which it is based. This is how substitution works. So, substitution, as I already discussed in the previous session. See, substitution is something for, as we, when we are confronted with a challenge or a perplexing problem or a question or a decision, what we do is we make to make life easier for ourselves. We always answer a substitute or simpler question. We always choose for substitution, that is system 1. So instead of estimating the probability of a certain complex outcome, we rely on an estimate of another less complex outcome. This was substitution, which we discussed in the last session. So after this, so here in when we are discussing the intuition, here also there is a place of, here also what we do is in extreme predictions as well, we substitute things. So there is potential for error here. Intuitive, what the author means to say is, if you predict something to, because of your intuition, there is always a potential for error. So author is saying that make use of system 2 in this case, not the system 1. So the next is overconfidence, and here they are explaining the illusion of understanding. How our understanding, we have the illusion of understanding at times. So here the next heuristic is the narrative fallacy. So what is the narrative fallacy is, in our continuous attempt to make, sense of the world, we often create flawed explanatory stories of the past that shape our views in the world and expectations of the future. So we are, human tendency is that we are in a continuous attempt to make a sense of the world. What we do is we often create a flawed, that means which is error prone, explanatory stories of the past, some past stories which might be flawed. What happens is that past stories and that past beliefs shape our views of the world and expectations of the future. Past flawed stories or beliefs shape our views of the world and expectations of the future. So what happens is we assign larger roles to the talent, stupidity and intentions than to luck. So our comforting conviction that the world makes sense rests on a secure foundation. Our almost unlimited ability to ignore our ignorance. So we human beings, author explains wonderfully that human beings tend to always ignore our ignorance. So this is the most evident we hear. I knew that was going to happen. So for everything, even though we knew that was going to happen, we can change nothing. But we make a secure, we make a secure foundation. That means our comforting conviction that the world makes sense rests on a secure foundation. That means our almost unlimited ability to ignore our ignorance. That means whatever happens, the narrative fallacy is, after that happens, we usually say, I knew that was going to happen, which always leads to error, because we always have a secure justification for something. That means the narrative fallacy is, in simple words, if I have to understand, if if you fail the complex exam, you always have a preconceived thing that it was out of syllabus, it was difficult, or I knew that was going to happen. You have a sense of comfort, in making your being ignorant, and ability to ignore your ignorance. So that is what is, if we have to understand, I think we have to delve deep into other heuristics as well, then you will understand what is complete fallacy. So we have seen the narrative fallacy here, the wrong narration. The narrative fallacy is, we always have a wrong narration of the past, which we tend to view our future through. So the hindsight illusion is, we think we understand the past. So the next heuristic is the hindsight illusion. So we think we understand the past. That means, which implies the future should be knowable, but in fact, we understand the past. Hindsight is past. So we think we understand the past. So which implies the future should be knowable. Human being always, as human beings, we have the tendency that we think that we understand the past. That means that we also should know the future, then the future should be knowable. So, but in fact, we understand the past less than we believe we do. That means our intuitions and premonitions feel more true after the fact. Once an event takes place, and we forget that we believed prior to that event before we changed our minds. That means prior to 2008, financial pundits predicted to a stock market crash, but they did not know it. Knowing means showing something to be true. So prior to 2008, no one could show that a crash was true, because it hadn't happened yet. So, but after it happened, they are talking about stock market here, but after it happened, they could show that a crash was true, but it hadn't happened yet. So, the tendency to revise the history of one's beliefs in light what actually happened produces a robust cognitive illusion. Here, hindsight illusion is another term for it is cognitive illusion. That means illusion in cognition means thinking. So this, there could be a potential for error. So we are prone to blame decision makers for good decisions that worked out badly, and to give them too little credit for successful moves that appear obvious only after the fact. What happened is, if there is a decision being taken, uh, for example, for stock markets, or for a policy in the government policy makers, for good, see, for good, we only blame people, for the bad decisions, for the good decisions which turned out bad, but we don't give them credit, enough credit for the successful moves that appear, obvious only after the fact. So what happens is always the negative, the cognitive illusion is that we do not here give, actual credit. The author says that we give very less credit for the right decisions that the decision makers give, to for the policy decisions or the stock market decisions. But we always, you know blame, we are prone to blame decision makers for the good decisions that turned out badly. So, when the outcomes are bad, the clients often blame their agents for not seeing the handwriting on the wall. That means forgetting that it was written in the invisible ink. So, actions that seemed prudent in foresight can look irresponsibly negligent in the hindsight. So, this is the message. So, actions only after the fact came into existence, like in 2000, prior 2008, nobody know what a crash could go like, because it did not happen. So likewise after 2008, people came to know that there is a crash, which happens in the stock markets. So the author says that actions that seemed prudent in foresight can look irresponsibly negligent in hindsight. So, hindsight is in the past. So, which actions that seem for us very prudent now in the foresight at front can irresponsibly back in the history, in the hindsight, these actions could look, irresponsibly negligent. So that is hindsight fallacy. So, the illusion of validity. So, the illusion of validity is the next heuristic. So, we sometimes confidently believe our opinions, predictions, and points of view are valid when confidence is unwarranted. Sometimes here also, here author is trying to explain the illusion of validity is we sometimes are overconfident that our opinions, predictions, and points of view are valid. When that confidence is actually, that confidence is not confidence, that is overconfidence. Some even cling with confidence to ideas in the face of counter evidence. Even if when there is a counter evidence, they always cling with confidence to the ideas. In the face, whatever ideas, opinions, predictions, and point of views they have, they only cling to it, even if there is counter evidence. So subjective confidence in a judgment is not a reasoned evaluation of the probability that this judgment is correct. So subjective confidence on, opinions, predictions, and point of views, what happens is this could be error prone. So, confidence is a feeling which reflects the coherence of the information and the cognitive ease of processing it. So, for the easily processing some information, confidence is a feeling which reflects, for me, for example, to process, that process some information, you know process some information, what I can do is, a confidence is a subjective confidence, and it is a feeling which will be reflected outside. But that does not mean that the subjective confidence in a judgment is, the subjective confidence in a judgment based on opinions, predictions, and point of views might not be flawed. There will be flaws there. The author is saying that, basically the author wants to say that in the illusion of validity, what happens is overconfidence, takes over the confidence because of the opinions, predictions, and point of views. So that is error prone. For that, for before before you analyze and before you get the evidence for your opinions, if before you examine and before you get the opinion, the evidence for your opinions, predictions, and point of views, the author is trying to say that you have to evaluate all of those before you have the you feel that your subjective confidence. Confidence is a feeling. It might not be 100% right. We have seen more talented people or more capable people having less confidence, but they are not they don't impress people, for example. But the people with more confidence, sometimes what happens is they always impress others. I'm trying to say that confidence is a feeling. That confidence, or the subjective confidence, what author is trying to explain, is may not be always correct. So the whole thing here is, when we talk about intuitions, illusions, etc., author is saying that analyze everything and examine everything before coming to the conclusion. So there is a potential for error. Factors that contribute to overconfidence, that is being dazzled by one's own brilliance, affiliating with like minded peers, and valuing our track record of wins and ignoring our losses. It is like I have 10 wins and 12 losses. I'm only, when people are overconfident, they only have the record of their wins. They always ignore the record of the losses. So, there is a potential for error. So, in the illusion of validity, basing the validity of a judgment on the subjective experience of confidence rather than the objective facts. So, here the point is we have to consider the objective facts first. For considering the objective facts, we have to get over the the overconfidence, making judgment on the subjective experience of confidence. So the author is trying to say that confidence is not a measure of accuracy. So that means if a person, if he or she is very confident, that does not mean that the person is always right. That is the final message. So the next heuristic here is ignoring algorithms. So intuition versus formulas. Here, when we talk about intuition versus formulas, that means we overlook statistical information. Why? Because of the intuitions. So we, when ignoring algorithms, heuristic is we overlook statistical information and favor our gut feelings. Human tendency is to always, most of the times, ignore or overlook the statistical information and favor gut feelings. So this is not good. That means forecasting, predicting the future of the stocks, diseases, car accidents, and weather should not be influenced by intuition. you know some if you have to, if somebody is predicting the future of stock market, or the future of diseases, or the future of car accident and weather, it should not be influenced by the intuition that I am feeling that this will happen. That should not be based on intuition, but they are often based on intuition. The author says that these decisions are always often based on intuition, and intuition is often wrong. That means we have to understand that gut feeling could be wrong. We do well to consult checklists, statistics, and numerical records, and not rely on subjective feelings, hunches, or intuition. So we have to, always see the checklist, statistics, numerical records, and not rely on subjective feelings or intuition, because there is a potential for error. So relying on intuitive judgments for important decisions of an algorithm is a, that what will happen is we are we will definitely make some mistakes. So here the author is trying to say that do not rely only on your intuitive judgments for important decisions. If the algorithm is available, if you have the statistics, if you have the data, if you have the analysis, make use of that. So author is saying that make use of system 2. So the next thing is expert intuition. That means when can you trust intuition? So here we understood when we cannot trust intuition. Now we are getting to know that expert intuition means when can you trust your intuition. That means intuition means knowing something without how we know it. If we know something, if suppose somebody says that this is going to happen, but they don't know how that is going to happen, that means they, that is intuition. That is intuition. Here author's understanding is that intuition is really a matter of recognition. So, being so familiar with something, we arrive at judgments quickly. That means the topics people have intuition mostly on the topics they are very much familiar with. So that time they make judgments quickly. So chess players see the chessboard, firefighters know when a building is about to collapse. So in these cases, intuitions may be because they have experience and they are familiar with, and their intuition is based on their experience, their past experience. So and the art dealers identify marks of forgeries. Parents have a sixth sense when their kids are in danger. So readers read letters and words quickly. So and friends are familiar with their friends from a distance. So kids become expert at video games. Motorist becomes expert driver. That means intuition can only be trusted when it is because of your past experience, your knowledge, something you are familiar with. Then only the intuition, that is called expert intuition. Because chess player can predict about the chess match because he's an expert in that field. Same firefighters will know when a building is about to collapse because they are experts in those fields. So that is called expert intuition. So intuition here is, see, recognition either over long periods of exposure or quickly in a highly emotional event. So intuition is immediate pattern recognition. So here author says that intuition is immediate pattern recognition. That means the things which has happened in the past in their experience, or they recognize it through their profession. So that is intuition. Intuition is immediate pattern recognition. Intuition is not magic. That means you cannot say that something is going to happen, but you cannot and say I don't know how it is going to happen. You have to know, because that is an immediate pattern recognition. Then only it is called expert intuition. So the next heuristic is trusting expert intuition. So we are confident when the story we tell ourselves comes easily to mind. That means with no contradiction and no competing scenario. But ease and coherence do not guarantee that a belief held with confidence is true. What happens is, when we human tendency to trust intuition is, we are confident when the story we tell ourselves comes easily to mind. There is no contradiction, there is no competing scenario. So the example could be, see, the but ease and coherence, here author is saying, do not guarantee that the belief which we hold with confidence is true. That means the associative machine is set to suppress doubt and to evoke ideas and informations that are compatible with the current dominant story. If there is any current dominant story going on, we always, we tell ourselves, easily to mind. That means we are trust that because of the dominant story. See, Kahneman is skeptical of experts because they often overlook what they do not know. Here also, when they are experts, when there is a chess player predicting about chess, a firefighter predicting about the fire, and kids predicting about video games, and parents predicting of sixth sense, is also, because they often overlook what they don't know. They only predict. The expert intuition is only based on what they know. They do not consider what they do not know. That means the things they might not know, they do not consider while they are predicting something. So author trusts experts when two conditions are met. So he's saying that when to trust expert intuition. So the expert is in an environment that is sufficiently regular to be predictable, and the expert has learned these regularities through prolonged practice. So there is, the potential for error then is low. So people will not be misled by experts. What happens is, many a times people are misled by experts. So how to avoid this is, if the expert who is predicting an intuition, who should be in that environment, and he when he is, see, the expert is in an environment that is sufficiently regular to be predictable. That means he is in the place, he is, he is doing the pattern recognition since long, and the expert has learned these things through practice, prolonged practice. If a chess player, suppose, has been in the situation earlier, and if he is predicting the game is going to be like this, game is going to be like that, and then he has achieved this not through just by fluke, but by constant and continuous practice and effort, then can we trust the expert intuition. Otherwise there is a potential for error, and we are always being misled by the experts. So this is called expert, how to trust expert intuition. Everything we discussed about today is about the intuition. So I know the concept is not very easy to understand. Even for me it took time to understand. And at the first time it took time, and whatever we believe that our gut feeling works, actually most of the time it doesn't work. Without the analyzing part, without examining, and without evaluating. So without that part, you should not trust the intuition simply because that is your gut feeling, or you are confident about it. Confident never means accuracy. So that was the message which the author wanted to give in these heuristics. And Thanks for staying tuned. I will come up with some more heuristics, that means mental shortcuts, in the next session. And thank you for staying tuned. Namaste for today.